site. And one of the children started chanting, "Monster, monster, monster, monster," and then a few others chanting, "Monster, monster." And it was a terrible experience for me, mostly because I felt so powerless to communicate with them, to communicate how hurtful that was for them to say that.
Although the children's taunts were terribly painful, they helped push Mitchell into making a decision that would take his life in a whole new direction. After a fiery motorcycle crash in San Francisco left him badly disfigured, W. Mitchell found life in the big city very difficult. To escape the constant stares and reactions, he moved to Crested Butte, seeking refuge in this small ski town in the picturesque mountain wilderness of Colorado.
And I'm sure somewhere in my mind, it was easier to live in a place like this, where you answer the question, and then there aren't a lot of new people to ask the same question. What happened?
Mitchell has little trouble making new friends. The people of Crested Butte quickly learned to see beyond his appearance.
We'd get together, we'd laugh, the Red Lady Ball came out of it.
His candor and his openness struck me almost right away. His being so relaxed about it helped me and others around him to be so relaxed.
It has a lot to do with his sense of humor, for one thing.
You and Dick Wingerson were the Crested Butte Brain Trust.
With the support of new friends, he soon started rebuilding his life. Within a short time, he built a successful business and started pursuing some of his old passions, even earning himself a pilot's license. But his life was about to be interrupted again.
I was a pretty good pilot, and remember deciding I was going to take this trip in November of 1975, and I got together 4 other people to go with me and to share some of the costs for gas. And I remember that morning, it was one of these magnificent days, one of these Colorado November days. The plane had been sitting out for a couple weeks, hadn't been flown, and it had snowed and rained, and so there was a lot of ice and snow crusted on the wings and all the surfaces of the airplane. And so the 4 other guys and myself scraped it and brushed it with brooms and did everything we could to clear it off, but still there was some residue of it on the wings. Finally, it got to a place that I felt it was reasonable and that we had gotten it, quote, gotten it off. And I said to my friend, I'll tell you what, I'll do the takeoff.
Everybody else ready to fly?
We taxied out for takeoff, rolled out on the runway. We rotated out and everything seemed to be like a normal takeoff.
I was not happy with the way the plane was flying. It just didn't seem to be functioning as well as I thought it should.
Something's not right. This isn't good. I'm gonna quit this. I'm gonna quit it, that's it.
And when I pulled the power to land the plane again, the plane stalled.
Oh, hold on.
So it literally was a rock and it just fell straight down, hit the ground.
The landing gear snapped, the fuselage broke in half.
The tanks were completely filled with fuel and you never knew whether the plane was going to catch on fire. So I yelled at them to get out.
Get out now. Get the hell out of here. Come on, get out. Yeah, my feet, not moving.
First I thought maybe my feet were stuck under the rudder pedals or something. That I couldn't figure out why I couldn't move.
Can't move my legs. Front of your neck.
And it was then that I started to feel a pain in my back.
Back.
And started to sense some numbness in my legs that was strange, and then realized I couldn't move my legs. And I sat there for what seemed like a very long time.
Call the ambulance, man. Man, my back.
Mitchell had broken his back. The 11th thoracic vertebra in his mid-spine had shattered, severely bruising his spinal cord and leaving him permanently paralyzed below the waist. But Mitchell refused to believe doctors when they told him he would never walk again.
There was a certain amount of denial, which I think is not uncommon for someone who's paralyzed. The idea that, well, it'll fix itself. I'll tomorrow morning I'll wake up and be able to move my legs. This thing will go away. I never allowed people to convince me that I may never walk again.
Mitchell decided the time had come to take control of his own recovery.
At Craig Hospital, every week during the rehabilitation process with my spinal cord injury, they would have a conference. And it would be nurses and therapists and the doctor, of course, and me, the patient.
How was the patient doing?
I think he's doing really well today.
And on this particular Monday, I remember rolling into the boardroom and this time, however, taking the doctor's chair and pulling it away from the head of the table where he would normally sit in command of the world and moving it to the place where I would normally sit. And I then said, "Good morning. Actually, I'm taking charge of the meeting today, and I want to announce I'm checking out. I'm leaving next week, and it's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you for all you've done for me. Thank you and all of you for what you've done for me." And the doctor, of course, knew that I wasn't ready to go home. Beverly, my physical therapist, looked at him for a moment or two and said, "Doctor, I don't think the question is whether he's ready to go home. He's going home." There's no doubt in my mind, knowing Mitchell. He's going home. The question should be, how can we get him best ready to go home? It was probably about 2 years after the accident that I really came to the place. And not a disappointing moment, but just I stopped the search. I stopped looking for the cure, resolved that this is pretty much the way it's going to be.
Mitchell's incredible courage and strength of will inspired many of his friends and neighbors as he battled to reclaim his life and also to find new direction.
Well, it was an inspiration to me to see how a man who'd gone through so many things and so many things had happened to him, that he was able to rise above. And he still wanted to have friends around. He still wanted us all to come over. He still wanted to be around people. And of course, politically, he was very sharp.
It was this political sharpness and his love for the great natural beauty of Colorado that drew Mitchell into the most rewarding battle of his life, the political fight to save the peaks of Crested Butte from the world's largest mining company. Pain, disfigurement, and permanent injury were not enough to crush the incredible resilience and courage of W. Mitchell. Now, he was about to use his amazing stamina in an entirely different kind of fight. As the world's largest mining company prepared to destroy the fragile beauty and delicate ecology of his hometown.
This company discovered that they had one of